Hello, y'all, and welcome back to FloTrack, Demitra, presented by Wonderful Pistachios, Episode 2. I'm your host, Demitra Carter, and joined with me today, welcome back, Johnny Pace.
Hi, Demitra. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you, too. Ashley Tishins, fresh off of NCAA's. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be back.
And then Nia Gibson, fresh off of New Balance Nationals.
Yes, so happy to be here.
And welcome to the show. This is your first appearance on the meetup.
It is. I'm happy to be here.
And we have another special guest joining us today, Matt Centrowitz. So make sure you stay tuned for later in the show.
Huge.
Yes, I first want to dive into some weekend hot takes that we saw this last week. We saw a lot of really cool, interesting things. I first want to start off with this 4x4 at NCAA's. Ashley, I'll throw it to you in a little bit because you were there to actually see it. I was watching in Boston from New Balance, but it was one heat where there were just multiple things happening between the officials not letting people on, A&M like running in front of another school. Like there was so many things. So let's go ahead and play the video.
Yeah, so I guess to give context, NCAA men's team title, it was going to come down to the 4x4 between USC and Arkansas. Essentially, you win the 4x4, you win the team title. And they were both in that same final heat of the 4x4. And just immediately chaos occurs. I know we have a video that we'll play here in a second, but essentially, right off the leadoff leg on the first lap, as they're cutting in for the break, the A&M and Arkansas kind of got a little jumbled up, and then all of a sudden, boom, the baton is out of the hand of Arkansas, and it's on the ground, and it's just, here we go. Here's the video. As you can see, cutting in, and boom, Arkansas trips up, drops the baton. And they get back on the track and are jogging. Again, you can see here, there's Ahmad Robinson with Texas A&M trying to cut in, maybe a little too close.
I feel like that was a normal cut in, but we'll get to that later.
It's hard we'll get to that later. It's kind of hard to say. I could see it going either way. But then as we're coming down to the final leg, as you can see, only the A&M final anchor was at the exchange zone. And where's USC and Florida? Like they're not there. The officials, I think, got confused with Arkansas still running, and so they didn't let out Johnny Blockberger and Vance Nielsen there for Florida.
The fact he's looking for Johnny in the stands is concerning.
So I think afterward, Johnny Blockberger was saying like, yeah, I saw him. I just sprinted past the official and just took the baton and went with it. So a lot of chaos. It then took like an hour to sort this out afterwards because obviously Arkansas protested. They protested what happened. Texas A&M got DQ'd eventually for quote unquote impeding Arkansas. And then I know Coach Bucknam at Arkansas was then calling the NCAA offices out.
As he should.
Because he wanted a rerun. He's like, we obviously A&M got DQ'd. And because of that, because they dropped the baton and they got DQ'd and the being impeded, they didn't have a chance to run for a team title. So they were trying to figure out if they were going to have a rerun. And for a while we were there for so long and we started hearing rumors from coaches like, oh, this is going to happen. Like the Arkansas guys were on the infield wearing spikes and putting on their jerseys and staying loose. And I remember me and Brian and John were all looking at each other. We're like, this is about to happen. Like there's no precedent for this. Ultimately, it didn't happen. And the hour wait was for nothing, and USC won the team title based on, I believe they finished 4th in the 4x4 overall with their time. So I don't know. That's the whole breakdown. I know we just saw the video. What are y'all's reactions? I know I was on the ground, so I saw it firsthand, but for y'all seeing it from afar,
I'm curious what the vibe was like when there's a title on the line. There's so much uncertainty. There's so much. That was chaos. Whatever we just watched right there.
Yeah,
I did not like that one bit.
I know all of us in the media area and the photographer area, we kind of just all looked at each other afterward and we were like, what was that? That was the messiest 4x4 I think I've ever seen. You have someone dropping a baton, you would then have the officials messing up on the exchanges. Very, very odd situation.
Did something not happen that should have? Should there have been a whistle of some sort?
They should have known how to do their job.
Yeah. This is unusual. This is a high-level meet with a lot at stake. This was unusual.
Yeah, and from what I heard, the explanation for the not having all the guys out to get the exchange there on that final leg was, I guess, Arkansas, since they were so far behind, they were coming through, but they still had a lap left. And I think somehow the officials got confused and thought that the guys behind them also still had a lap to go. But for some reason, I think the A&M guy just went out there and he was like, no, I'm getting this baton. Yeah. But no one else did. It was really, again, very strange. I'm glad at least they all got the batons passed there, those three.
Might have had to hit one of these to get
A little
it.
sprint to get it, but yeah, very strange.
Yeah, that's insane to me, especially at this high level of a meet. I think, no, that's insane. For an official to be like, yeah, you actually can't get on the track to get your baton, and for Johnny to have to push past somebody, wild.
Yeah.
I also backtrack a little bit. I don't think they should have got DQ'd.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like, what do we think about A&M getting DQ'd?
I call BS. I don't like they were just cutting in. Nia, I'll let you talk about it because we were at New Balance and you were showing me Ahmad's Instagram story.
Yeah, I was hot. And then I was hot because it's like, I think I'm team A&M on this one. It looked like a regular indoor 4x4. We know how it goes. We know it gets into that space of contact sports because you're cutting over with a lot of great athletes running at really high rates. So it happens, right? But it's nothing that was unsportsmanlike, nothing that was dirty. It looked like Ahmad got the cutover first and maybe got tripped up. It happens, but I think a DQ was a bit much.
Let's go ahead and pull up the Ahmad screenshots. Yeah, Nia, I'll have you talk us through this one.
I agree. I mean, maybe I might get a little bit of heat from Arkansas, but yeah, he didn't do anything.
And the fact that he said that he did the same thing at
he
at
referenced it
SECs.
back. He's like, listen, this is a habit.
He's like, Arkansas, this is what y'all do time and time again.
We pass on the outside guys, track and field 101.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I you know what? I think this is really good for the sport. I love his attitude about it. I love the trash talk. It's good for the sport. Listen, track and field has a ton of dogs in it, so why should we be the only ones being polite to our opponents?
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything that's overly ridiculous, but at the same time, you know, he called him out. It's good for the sport. I think a little drama never hurt anybody.
I'll say on the DQ, I think I would have been fine either way. Like, I think it's a tough decision, right? Especially when it comes to indoor, right? Like, it is just so tight there. And, like, you know, there's going to be contact. So, like, I get the idea of, like, you know, hey, yeah, they cut in. Like, there's some contact. Like, you know, it is what it is. But then I also do get the fact that, like, okay, yeah, like, you know, you see a little bit of contact and they do drop the baton. So I can see why maybe an official looks back at that and says, okay, hey, maybe they did impede. Maybe they were a little too tight. So I'm okay with it either way, personally.
Yeah, I like that A&M stood on business. I'm not going to lie. They cut, I mean, who's faster?
Yeah.
Ahmad was in front of you. Run faster and you can maybe not get the baton knocked out of your hand. Also don't think it was as crazy as we saw the baton attack last week on our show. Like, he wasn't like doing anything wild.
Right.
And then I think to also see it with the officials, A&M was the only team out there. Why? Because they were like, this official's wrong. I need to get the baton for my teammate. I think that time and time again. And I hate to say this, I do as a Baylor Bear, but A&M was standing on business and I respect it. And at the end of the day, I mean, they did get DQ'd, but I think we all know they have a really fast 4x4 and we know who they are and their athletes have elite names. Ahmad Robinson is like that at the end of the day. And I love that he called the Arkansas guy. I'm a fan.
He tagged him.
He tagged him.
He tagged him.
Yeah, he said, yeah. He also little broed him. I don't know if I support all of that, but I like it. Yeah.
I'm frustrated and excited at the same time. Frustrated because I get how it can be either way with the disqualification, but if that's the case, then let's be consistent across the board. Because for every push and shove for someone who cuts over first, half of these 4x4s that was ran from the beginning of indoor season should be disqualified.
Exactly.
Right? And I don't agree with that. And I think the same should apply here. Excited because, listen, we're talking about A&M full of dogs, especially if we talk about Ahmad Robinson in that 400. I think we have something great coming up for outdoor season. Like, I think that's something A&M made for nationals. May take the men's 4x4.
I'm excited. No, they're built a little different.
They are, and they have a chip on their shoulder. They have something to prove. They have, aside from running fast times and wanting to be the best in the NCAA, they also now have, again, great for the sport, this amazing storyline.
Yeah, I'm excited. And then outdoor, at least you get your own lanes, and then you get to.
Yes.
You still got to cut in, but it's a little.
Right.
Yeah. I also want to dive into what else happened this weekend. Nike and New Balance Nationals. Everybody knows the bags. That's no matter how old you are, you're like, let me see what these bags are. Let's go ahead and pull up that screenshot or the photos of the comparison of the two bags that we saw all over the place.
Ooh.
On the left, on the left, we have New Balance Nationals. On the right, we have Nike Indoor Nationals. I don't think I have much to say because you can look at it here and we can tell which one's the better bag. There was a lot of discourse online too, saying that Nike was a little bit lazy with their design, but New Balance, everybody like loved the New Balance bag. So talk to me. How do we feel? Which bag do y'all like? And then how do you feel about it?
It's funny how much the kids value these bags. Like, this goes back to like when I was in high school, like, you know, people pulling up with like their New Balance, like nationals bags.
Ultimate
like,
flex.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh, they're fast, you know? I
right.
mean, I think looking at it, like, I mean, there's no question. I think the New Balance bag looks better. However, I'm not sure if I like the white. Like, that would get dirty. That would get kind of dirty, but it is like fancier.
We'll circle back in like 6 months to see if it's dirty.
Yep.
Yeah.
This may be like one of my hottest takes, but this is just my thought.
You better not say it's the Nike bag.
No, not even. I'm thinking, I feel like I'm unimpressed with maybe both. I feel like the bags used to be way more out there and like way more of a statement, and like they've kind of blended together. All the love, all the respect, but that's just my personal take. I remember back 10 years ago when I was a senior, they were like, the bags were so unique, and I haven't seen one in the last few years. It's like, wow, like this is something special. Is that just me?
I see what you're saying, and I kind of agree, because I remember like back again when I was in school, and I'm pretty sure like there was one year where New Balance had ones that were like bright orange and like they looked like cool, and like they had like the flap that like opened up, and then you could like they were unique.
I used that bag for like basically till it fell apart. It was so cool. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
They used to have like cityscapes, like bright neon. Obviously, I think on the same token, there's such an expectation on these bags to like one up year after year. I give full credit to the teams there for like continually year after year having to come out with a new bag. I think that's a big order, but like, and the New Balance one I think is cool. Like it's cool, but like I would like to see maybe them try to push the boundaries a little bit more.
I like that.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I'm a fan of all the shoe brands when it comes to the sport, but I think it really remember when Nike released the Olympic kit and everybody was like, this font is Comic Sans?
Yeah.
Give them the same vibes. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's not ugly. It's not that we hate it, but it's like, when you think Nike, you think your neon yellows, you think being innovative, you think the bubble spikes, like you think all these new things. So I think there was this level of disappointment. If I'm showing up to a track meet and I got a Nike bag that's black with some blue letters that I could have stitched on, like.
I will say,
right.
Fair enough. Although, let's think about, I think I also saw that Nike had some other things for like winners, like gold.
Now
pendants.
that was cool.
Yeah.
The Nike pendant, I want that.
Yeah. So maybe, they've made up for it in other ways.
But New Balance had Letterman jackets.
No
they
kidding.
both were cool.
Oh, is that new? I think that's new.
Is it new? This is my first New Balance. I'm not sure.
I don't remember them doing that last year or any other year before, so that must be new.
I'm not gonna lie. I would want both. I would wear the New Balance Letterman with my Nike and mix all the brands.
Did you make a case for them to slide you an extra?
I'm trying. I didn't get one yet. I'll probably hit up Coach Joe, Coach Vic.
Yeah.
They broke
some.
a bunch of records. They have to have an extra spare
Coach
one.
Joe has got plenty to spare. I guarantee that.
I'll give him a call.
The Nike bag was disappointing. I was on TikTok and I think I dived so deep into it. My whole algorithm became high school track and field. And somebody's TikTok I saw, they were like, why would Nike give us a lunchbox? And I was on the floor. Like, these kids have so much personality, but I think to your point, yes, I think in the past, the bags have been a lot more innovative and creative. Like I remember when I was in high school, my favorite one was like the galaxy looking one.
Yes.
With the New York City skyline.
That might be an all-timer.
That is the best one. I don't think that one can be topped. But I think New Balance, I like their design this year. It was simple, but yet nice. But I think when you're having these bags, it is a flex because you can't just sign up for this race and be like, I'm going to be at this meet. You have to meet a certain standard. So when you're flexing in that sense, when you see someone with that bag, oh, you're like that.
Yeah.
But then when you see someone with the Nike bags, like you're like that, but also that bag's not that great. Yeah, I think that was like a bit disappointing to see, despite the caliber of athletes that were there. I'm glad that it didn't match, the talent pool.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and get into Nike Nationals, New Balance Nationals. A lot of records were broken this weekend. Let's first start off with Nike.
What a weekend for high school track and field. I mean, I know I was at NCAA Indoors, but I was like tuned in because, oh my goodness. I mean, even like at NCAA Indoors, we were chatting with coaches at like a coaches social, and they were like, did you see this, and this? And I'm like, yep, sure did. So it was even like making buzz at the collegiate level. I think if you look at Nike, what you have to start off with, we have to talk about Jane Hendegren. 2 national records, 1 weekend, 1 meet. And I mean, wow, like just so impressive. She started it off on Thursday evening, winning the 5K in a new high school national record of 15:13.
Jeez.
Crazy. That beat Elizabeth Leachman's 15:28, which was set at Nike Indoor Nationals the previous year. And then just a couple days later runs 4:26 for the mile to break the high school national record there. I mean, man, if you didn't already kind of see during cross country season that Jane Hendegren was onto something special this year, like, you need to know now that, like, hey, she's here. Because I think back to cross country season, she obviously won NXN, and that was a huge moment for her, and she completely dominated in the rain out there. And then she also ran the fastest, if you look at the mile split database, the fastest cross country 5K ever at the high school level, at the U.S. high school level. And she did that at NXR. And so I think seeing how she's continued a lot of that success from cross country season to then now in the indoor track with these 2 national records is really impressive.
And then top it all off with a nice little NIL deal.
Yeah,
That's right.
Nice. That was nice.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. But those weren't the only 2 national records we saw there. We also saw Tate Taylor, boys 200,
20.4. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Like 20.46. Like, what are these kids eating? Like, that would have gotten him into the field for NCAA indoors in the 200.
Whoa, really?
I believe the cutoff for that was 20.66. And he's just a junior too. He's not even a senior. He's from Texas. I know I've seen him. I believe he ran at the Texas A&M High School Invitational. I was there and I saw him, and he ran really fast there. And man, curious to see how this will now translate to outdoors, UIL, like state championships. Like, he's going to be a guy I think that's going to stay around. Tate Taylor, remember that name.
I won't forget it.
Good.
We have one more NIL athlete that signed too, don't we?
It was 2 more girls
Yeah.
that signed with Nike, who I think all 3 of them competed that weekend as well. It was this Dana
Wilson and Sophia Rodriguez. They both competed at Nike Indoor Nationals. I believe Dana Wilson won the 60-meter in 7:16, which is number 2 all-time in high school history behind Lisa Ray, which I know we saw Lisa Ray compete at New Balance. But, I mean, yeah, again, we're just seeing these kids just continue to progress. Like, I think this year is, I think usually we've talked about this before in previous years. It's always the debate of like, okay, which was the better nationals? You have Nike, New Balance, and then also Adidas, which I know we're coming up this weekend streaming live on Mile Split. I think usually it goes to New Balance, but I'm like, man, Nike this year, maybe they took it a step up. I know they also had Cooper Leckenhouse. He ran number 2 all-time mark, 147 to win the boys 800. I could just go on and on about all these kids, but yeah, very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad you brought up Lisa Ray. She just announced that she's foregoing her senior year of high school.
I saw that.
Crazy.
She's going to go to Georgia early.
Yeah, and I think we talked to her a little bit. She was a little disappointed with her 60-meter performance, despite being as fast as she is, because she wanted to PR. But I think it's rare to see someone, in track and field, to forego their last year of high school.
And what does that mean? She's going straight into college, or she's going to just start training over there?
Yeah, like this fall. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you usually see that at like in basketball and football, like guys will graduate, especially football, guys will graduate a semester early and then start spring training. So that way they have an extra kind of season of training before going and playing football like that fall. So seeing this, in the track level, it's interesting.
What's the rush? Why don't you just rack up all those senior accolades while you're at it?
That was her 3rd time winning. She was like, I'm good.
But that's the thing. Like, Georgia Bulldogs, they got a good one. Like, to your point, what's the rush? It's kind of one of those things where her mentality is really different than all those other kids out there. When we were speaking to her after her race, she was super disappointed. And even though she just became a national champion for the 3rd time, but for her, I felt like for her, that was a given. Like, winning, that was going to happen anyways. I'm here to run a certain time, and I didn't do that, so now I'm disappointed. Like, this crown, this jacket doesn't mean much because I've been here before. I mean, it does mean a lot, right? But for her, the mentality. So I think she's just really ready to kind of step it up and get her collegiate career started.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, it's so nice to have seen her run, and her times, for context, would have easily not only qualified, but made it to the finals of NCAAs. And that in itself, to be that young, but be that fast, it's really impressive. And she has an NIL deal.
Of course.
Why wouldn't she?
Her semis time, I think, would have been in the finals, 7th place, maybe?
Yeah.
We fact check me? I don't know.
I can look at that later.
Yeah, but I know for sure she's that fast. Like regardless, she's really that girl, and I love that. And then also on the sprint side of New Balance, we got to see a 22.6 from Elise Cooper, which is wild. I wasn't even running 22. Like sub 23 indoor, huge PB. She never went sub 23, and then she did it 22.6. Like that's mid 22s. That's not even a high 22. And to see her do that, she's committed to University of Texas. This is her final senior year in high school. That was fun. Because sometimes when you watch people run a 200, at least for me, I'm like it's deceiving. Either you're running really fast, everybody's running really slow, but everybody ran fast, and she just broke that 23 barrier. So,
And I'm not surprised to see her do that either. I mean, earlier this season, she broke the 300-meter national record. So you just go down a little bit, and then she runs number 2 all time in that 200. And Elise Cooper's been a name that's been around, competing among the national elite for quite some time, even since she was like a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
So to see I think just to see that progression from her, just continuing to get better, is what's been really impressive for me.
yeah, it's exciting. I'm going to keep on going with New Balance because I had a grand time. We also saw Bullis kind of dominate. We had their boys 400. I'll start there. We had Quincy obviously win. No new national record, but he still went out there and won and defended his title. And then in third place, we saw Cameron Murray, his teammate, also have a huge PB. And then we also saw a girls 400. Sydney Sutton had a huge PB. I believe she went 52.
Yeah.
And then they had their 4x4s. Both of their 4x4s broke the national record. It's insane. I don't know if they're like a quarter mile U up there, but it was impressive.
It's kind of what we talked about. It's like they were dialed in when the moment mattered. Like they were just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Bullis has a special program going on over there. Like sometimes I wonder if Coach Joe would even like take it a step up and maybe even coach collegiately, but different conversation for a different day. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to your point, the 400s were ridiculous. 2 meet records between Quincy Wilson and Sydney Sutton, and the 4x4 is the national record. And I think even besides that, we got to talk about their resilience, because although we had a lot of good, we did have a little bit of bad. They had 2 relay DQs, as we talked about the 4x4 drama at NCAAs. Their 4x2s had some issues too, whether it be like running out of the zone or whatever the case may be. The way they were able to bounce back, because there's certain stuff where it's like they probably could have they definitely would have won, or their time maybe would have had them in some sort of record bracket, but a lot of teams, a lot of people, a lot of adults would dwell on it, but they came back the next day or even a few hours later and just defended whatever national title they had. They kind of brushed it off and was like, all right, we still have another race to run. We have a long weekend ahead of us. We're not going to let this define New Balance for us. And so said, so done. So like the blunders didn't really hinder their New Balance. And that is admirable, because I know a lot of teams, or a lot of teams, people, kids, athletes would have just fell apart, because it's a devastating moment in the time, but they kind of shook it off and was like, listen, we've been here before. It's the sport. It is what it is. Let's keep it pushing. And when we were talking to Coach Joe and the athletes, one of the biggest things I've seen was accountability. They were like, here's what I did wrong. Here's what we can do better. And we will go back to the drawing board. But until then, we still have work to do.
Those weren't the only national records, though, that were set at New Balance. 4x2, 4x8 as well. Like, I know you guys were there watching those. Like, tell me about the 4x2 and then that 4x8 as well.
Yeah, so 4x2, Archbishop Carroll, to see that was insane. And they broke the record in semis. Like, it wasn't even finals yet. And to your point of resilience, I believe their girls went out of the zone before that. So I think to watch Coach Vic, and you know Coach Vic well too, to watch that happen, to see him be able to adapt to coach up a national high school record is really impressive. But they went fast. That's the short answer. Those boys know how to run, and I think to have Jake on that relay too. He had his hamstring was injured a couple weeks ago, leading into that, so he was training on grass in the pool. So I think to come away with that record, and then the 200 title, of course, it was really nice to see. Yeah.
And his attitude behind it, when we spoke to them post-race before finals, they were like, yeah, I mean, that was the plan. That was the plan. Like he literally, like, getting to finals was a no-brainer. But breaking the record, he said that was according to schedule. That was on our to-do list. Check onto finals.
And I think we saw that with the boys 4x4 too. So with Bullis 4x4 and then Archbishop Carroll's 4x200, when we both talked to them, I asked Quincy, I was like, what shots put for the 4x4? He looked at the camera and smiled. He was like, that's it. No words. Nothing needs to be said. And same with the 4x2. They're like, what? You thought we were going to wait till finals to break it? They're like, we're going to do this now. And it wasn't even technically their full A team, which is crazy. Yeah. They switched out a leg.
They had a few teams in the final for the girls and the boys. I saw an A, B, and C team, I think, on the girls' side. Like, it was crazy.
One quick note, Quincy did get a spot offered for World Indoors, but he's foregoing that. Is that right?
Yeah, he had school.
He got school.
He said school
Priorities.
comes first.
Yeah.
School first.
What a young scholar. Like that.
He said school comes first.
As it should. Go ahead.
No, I was going to change the subject, so continue.
Oh, I wanted to talk about too. I wanted to play this TikTok video really quick to talk about how exciting New Balance and Nike Nationals are, especially for the high school level. Let's go ahead and play this TikTok video, starting with Quincy's aura.
That's funny. So these kids are so funny.
I saw that TikTok on my For You page, going back to our whole bag.
Oh, look at this one, though.
There's a lot of people who doubled up.
That's it.
Both.
That's aura right there.
Yeah, I mean, this is serious business. The bags you get at Indoor Nationals.
Shaping to the salon.
And then, yes,
Masai was
showed
there.
up, yes. And she was doing TikTok with the kids. It's the
She went to
humor.
Nationals and her bag was stolen. That's all she came there for.
And I remember seeing the caption. She said, at least they took the stuff out.
Oh, wait. I didn't see they really stole it.
Yeah.
These things are hot commodities.
Yeah.
They weren't stealing Nike.
They gave her the courtesy, though, of taking her stuff out, though.
Yay?
Call that,
Thank you.
I don't know. Like,
That's so funny. Go ahead.
Okay, I have to say, so I know we've talked like a lot about the high schoolers running fast. New Balance middle schoolers running fast. Can we talk about Mackenzie Skelly?
yes.
Yes.
I feel like we can't end the New Balance talk without talking about her.
It's insane. I think. And then what race was it? She should have been the championship final. And she wasn't. And then still won.
Was it the mile?
I think it was the mile.
She won the mile and the 2 mile, 4:48 mile, 10:14 2 mile to win the middle school divisions.
And she broke the record by like 40 seconds plus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the one I feel like she should have been in the championship level with.
Yes, that's what it
That's the
was.
one.
I was like, there was one. I was like, this girl's in the wrong heat, and she was in the wrong heat.
I mean, not only are we seeing the collegians run fast, the high schoolers run fast, now we got middle schoolers running times that could get you recruited right now to compete collegiately. I mean, goodness, I definitely think Skelly's going to be a name we need to keep an eye on as she continues on to the high school level in the coming years.
It's so funny when you're talking to her. She's so soft-spoken and polite, even though she runs like a complete beast. And when she's speaking about certain stuff, she's just like, yeah, I'm just kind of happy to be here. And she dominates the track every time she steps on it.
No, I completely agree. When I interviewed her right after you, she's she's a humble kid. And then like to also see her mom right there too. They also look just alike, side note.
Those genes are strong.
You can tell that
Those
they're,
genes are strong.
yeah. Just to be able to see that and see her family support her. And she's so humble. After she won the first race, she was like, yeah, I'm coming back tomorrow. But she said it wasn't her strongest. I don't know who told her that, but
It wasn't her strongest.
I don't know. Hey, she's good at everything, but it was cool to see somebody that young be so good and so talented.
My question would be like, when you see people as good as that, like so early, how do you sustain it? Like, do middle school phenoms, like, do they typically tend to be able to continue? I feel like Tui was maybe a middle school name that we would hear a lot.
I will say, especially on the distance side, I mean, you have to be, I don't know if careful is the right word, but like you never want your athlete to be peaking too early. But You're right. Like Tui was one that I think a success story, right? Like she was super successful in middle school, continued that on in high school, and then obviously collegiately, and now is in the pro ranks running for Adidas.
Yeah.
But you don't always see that happen. And I think that just, you want to make sure that you have the right coaches and adults and individuals around these people to make sure that they are doing what's best for themselves and not going too hard in the paint too early. If
I
that
feel like
makes sense.
I feel like the physical part is definitely a given, but also the mental. How do you not get burned out or too much pressure at such a young age? But I'm sure they're doing
I feel
a
like
great
as
job.
long as they're making it fun for these kids in the middle
Right.
school level, like that's what matters.
That's when the support system really comes into play. Like one of my favorite questions to ask a lot of these athletes are the support system because, again, 90% mental. So I think with Skelly being so young. They just have to be super methodical in how they treat her in this sport and they handle her carefully. Make sure that they keep it fun for her. Make sure they don't make sure she doesn't burn out early, because she is very special. Like, I'd say almost a prodigy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's for Quincy, for example, he's having fun. Like, even interviewing him with his teammates, they're just 16-year-old boys. Like, they are just having so much fun, and it's so fun to see. And kind of all of them, like, you ask them to dance. I'm not gonna lie, I think I might be getting a little older. Some of these TikTok dances, I said, that is not on my For You page, but go off. I support it. But I think to have like that system, like for example, back to bullets again, but we saw Vernon Norwood walk out with Quincy, and then we saw Masai Russell not show up just for Quincy, but show up for like her sister Salai and the entire bullets team. After Quincy's 400, me and Nia saw Masai standing on the rail. She's like, "Can y'all get me in?" I'm like, "Girl, you're an Olympian. Like, they should let you in." And she was like, "I want to see Coach B." She was like, "I'm gonna let Quincy and Coach have their moment," but she was going to see that entire program. So I think the program that they come from is so important, to let kids be kids, let them run fast and understand that you need to perform. And I think the older you get from a sprint perspective, it's really about your recovery. I think the older you get, the harder it is on your body to sprint. I know a lot of people think that sprint workouts aren't real workouts. Y'all are just doing 60-meter block starts. It's so hard on your body. And I think to have that recovery, the more you recover, the older you get. That's what you need. You need to align the two. Because when you're young, you can just really wake up and run. But you'll see like a Shelly Ann at the Olympics, for example. I don't know exactly why she didn't race, but the rumors have it's because she wouldn't have had enough time to warm up. But a Sha'Carri can kind of get by with not as long of a warm up. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Well, thanks for that's a good sprint lesson.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm learning.
Sprint 101. And then also the Olympian showing up. I think it was really cool to see Vernon and Masai New Balance. That's awesome.
For sure.
Any Olympian show up at Nike Nationals by chance?
I think Masai was actually there
Oh,
first.
she did go first. You're right.
Yeah.
On the tour.
Yes.
Craig Engels was at Nike.
Okay.
Not sure who else was there, but I saw he was there.
Yes. No, she was there, which is a lot of people caught that flight from Nike to New Balance, which is really cool.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
I'm also pretty sure I saw Vernon Norwood at NCAA's.
I would, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised because I didn't see him until what was it, day 2 or 3?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first day I was walking by and someone with a hood up. I'm like, I think that's Vernon.
Like, he looks familiar.
It looked very much like him, so I think he was there as well.
But yeah, overall, I think high school is it's so fun. Like, I mean, from the TikToks that we've seen, from the performances that we've seen, I think that's what makes it so special. They're at a stage in their career where they don't have to be as serious as maybe collegiates or the professionals, but they can still have so much fun with it.
Awesome. And then last one to touch on for high school, Taylor Cox. I think she just has to be mentioned. I asked her how many titles. She said, I lost count. But to see her compete, come out, her final, she didn't even get out the blocks that good and come away with the title. That was really cool to see.
She's fun personified, kind of like to that point. She keeps it fun. She doesn't take herself too seriously, but still finds that balance of making sure she's locked in all the time.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, I was last out the blocks, but I was first across the line, period.
Yeah. And she said, what, eating barbecue chicken?
Yeah, she said barbecue
that.
chicken.
Now, let's go ahead and get into NCAAs. Ashley, you were there this weekend. We all were kind of watching the results online, but a lot of fast times, some records. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, NCAAs was, I think, everything a lot of people expected. It was fast. It was competitive across really all the events. I guess to first talk about the team title winners, we had, as we kind of mentioned earlier when we were talking about the 4x4 controversy, USC won the men's team title after a long process of cleaning up and figuring out what happened in that 4x4, but they won the team title. And then the Oregon women actually won the team title on the women's side. They had a fantastic showing. Jaden Mays scored 16 points for the Ducks. She got runner-up at both the 60 and the 200. You had Wilma Nielsen also winning the mile for them. Aaliyah McCormick second in the hurdles. Their DMR got second. I mean, the Ducks had a day. They had a day, and so they were able to get that. Shout out to John Davern, who actually correctly picked these on our preview show. I only got 1 out of 2. I picked the Arkansas women, but they just didn't qualify some of their top athletes from prelims to finals. And so I think that hurt them.
Won.
Yeah, I got like 2.5 right on that prediction sheet. I'm counting a half, but
fair.
Yeah.
Not fair. No.
But I guess to get into, you alluded to records being broken. We got to talk about that women's 400. Isabella Whitaker of Arkansas in the first heat, 49-24 to not only win the NCAA title for that event, but set a collegiate record, an American record. The previous record was 49-48 by Britton Wilson. I told John going into this that this was going to happen. He didn't believe me, and I was right. It happened. I mean, gosh, like, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that race at all, but I mean, the way she was able to close that last 100 meters, impressive. I mean, that was just strength on full display. And I think now that this is just like, I'm curious to see how this carries over into outdoor and then beyond. Like, potentially maybe she's going to try to qualify for that world outdoor team. Who knows? But I think that was a very, very dominant performance from her, especially considering I think this whole season long, she's been second to Aaliyah Butler so many times. At SECs, she was just narrowly second to Aaliyah Butler, but this time it was Whitaker that had the most at the end.
She ran that by herself, too.
I know. That's crazy. I mean, a solo effort. Imagine, I think, if Aaliyah Butler was in the final with her, that would have been interesting.
I know that that's why indoor, I hate indoor, but I wish that outdoor, like, they would have been together, but it would have been so nice to see them in the same heat. But Aaliyah Butler was this close to being in her heat. It was by like 0.001 because it's 1-2 go on one heat, 3-4 go on the other heat. Mm-hmm. And I think one of them got third, but it was like by like the 100th of a second. I would have loved to see them in the same heat. But the Whitaker sisters, they got something special. Olympians, records, I need to see like what the genes are looking like. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think the 400, that's a great place to start. But then I think if I were to pick like some of the most entertaining races I saw, I think we can't talk about NCAAs without talking about Gary Martin and Ethan Strand. It was kind of a little rivalry that was going on this weekend. It started off in the DMR. They were both anchoring UNC and Virginia's DMR teams, and it was Gary Martin who had more with 100 meters to go.
Go Who's.
I know you're biased on this one.
That made me very happy to see. I think that was UVA's first DMR title.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a huge moment, and super happy for those boys. They were all seniors as well. So, like, for some of them, it was literally their last race in NCAA. Like, they only had indoor. So they've been working hard for years. It felt like a testament of what Vin's been building there for the last several years and kind of culminating in this title. So huge for the program. Go Who's, super proud alum. But it didn't end there, right? There was...
Yeah, well, first up, I want to say that, Gary Martin split 3:48 on that anchor. They were back in like 6th place or something going into that final leg, and he ran 3:48. Ethan Strand 3:49, though. Imagine anchoring a DMR in 3:49 and still not winning. Like, that's just crazy to think about. But then the roles were reversed the next day, so they matched up again in the 3K, and I think going in, a lot of us thought that this was going to be the race to watch out of all of NCAA just because it was just so loaded. A lot of guys opted, instead of doing the mile or the 5K, to focus on the 3K.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it delivered yet again. It came down to a final kick between Ethan Strand and Gary Martin, but this time it was Strand that had more with 100 meters to go, and it was Strand that came away with the title. Super entertaining there. I think that, for me, those were some of the best races to watch. I know you guys, again, were kind of all over the place and kind of tuning with the results. Like, were there any events that really stood out to y'all?
Yeah, I think from a point perspective, the Oregon women won by 16 points, and Jaden Mays scored 16 points. I was a little sad to not see her get a title. I really wanted that for her. But I think it's a testament to her coming back, because I saw somebody say this online, if she hadn't come back, there would be no 16 points for them to win. Of course, all points matter. Everybody scores where, but I think like she came back and she didn't have to. She had that extra eligibility. So it was really... Although she didn't get the title, it made me happy to see her be able to still contribute to that overall team title. And then freshman India Mayberry.
I had it written down, so I'm glad you mentioned her. I mean, man, just a freshman, 22-3.
And she's been running like I'm not gonna lie, it's shocking because she's a freshman, but she's been very consistently running fast. So I don't think it was any necessary. No, it was a slight upset. There was a lot of good people in that 200, but I think, yeah.
I'll say the first time I saw India Mayberry compete was when she was in high school. It was last year at the UIL State Championships. And when I tell you she dominated the 1 and the 2, I was like, who is this girl? And so I think then that was when we first kind of, maybe she became more of a well-known national name. And then now seeing how that's translated to just immediate success at the collegiate level. I mean, she ran world number 7 all time this weekend at NCAAs. I think she's going to be around here to stay. I think winning that title in the way that she did over defending champion Jamisia Ford, who was in the lane to her outside, I mean, that was a pretty big statement from her.
Oh, I completely agree. I thought Jamisia, clearly don't take my picks, but I thought Jamisia would have had it. But I'm glad to see India Mayberry get it.
And then I think also the men's 200 was very entertaining as well. You had Makanake Charamba and Carly Makarawu going at it again. These two have been battling all season long. Even at SEC Indoors, it was Charamba that had just the edge over Makarawu at the end. But this time it's Carly that gets the win. I think it's cool to see him get this title, knowing his background. He comes from New Mexico Junior College, and then he did so well there that then, prepared them for the D1 level. Now he runs at Kentucky, and to see him run 20.13 and get that title and move up the world all-time list in the 200, it was really special. And you could tell afterwards just how much that moment meant to him.
100%.
Ashley, I kind of wanted your opinion on this. The women's 800, that
yes,
seeing Juliette Whittaker not make the final, she's the defending champion. I want to know you from your vantage point, just like how, because she's great. And also, like, on a separate note, 202 not being able to make the final is crazy, but I guess that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I think the women's 800 ended up being one of the most surprising events of the whole meet. I think if you had told me that Juliette Whittaker wasn't going to make the final, I would have said you're kidding. But, I think it's just a testament to, like, how tough the 800 is. If you don't run that race well, if you don't execute that race, you're not going to make a final. And I think it speaks to just how fast the collegiates are. I mean, you said like 202, you had to run 202 to get into the final. And then even to qualify for NCAA Indoors, you had to run 201. So anyone can be caught on an off day. And I think if you look at Juliette's prelim race, she just didn't have enough at the end to really kick it in and get a qualifying spot. And so I think she went on social media afterwards and she said, it's disappointing, but obviously she got to see her sister break the American record in the 400. So that was exciting for her. And then even the women's 800 final was interesting. And again, you see someone like Michaela Page, who I think a lot of people didn't know about. She's never finished super high at an NCAA championship, and she goes out there and wins even after getting tripped up at one point in that race. She rebounded, she front ran, and she never looked back.
I love that. And then my bias is just always going to be here, but Baylor. They got their long jump title, Alexis Brown, and to see her and her entire journey from being injured, really leaning into her faith, transferring to Baylor, and see her come away with the win was really cool to see.
Yeah, and she did it with a huge mark too. I believe she moved up the collegiate all-time list. I can't remember to where, but I mean, dominant there, and I think that was really exciting to see for her.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch her outdoor. And she's scored in the 60. I forgot what she ran, but
tough double.
Yeah, I'm like, she hit a little double. Any other NCAAs? Okay, I do have one more. I think it was really cool to see Jaden O'Brien compete as well in the multi. And then the 60-meter hurdle. Yes, Olivia. I saw their photo on Instagram. You got to see Olivia too there. Talk to me about what that experience was like to not only see a national champion come out of the women's hurdles, but then all these different titles for A&M.
Yeah, I think Jaya Covington, she had a huge breakthrough this weekend. She PR'd in the prelim 7.94, and then she comes back and PRs again to win the final 7.90. And I think I know I saw the picture on social media of her just getting bombarded by Olivia, my former coworker. Now she works at A&M. After that final, speaks volumes to how much that title meant for A&M and for Covington as well. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, I think coming in, some of us thought maybe Texas A&M would perform a little bit better, especially on the men's side. Didn't end up that way, but I still think that they showed that they have some strength across a lot of different events, and I thought that was really cool.
I had so much fun talking track with y'all. Nike Nationals, New Balance Nationals, records broken, DQs, all the things. I can't wait to keep talking track with y'all a little bit more as we dive into World Indoors. We teased this guest a little bit earlier in the show, and I'm so excited to welcome to the meetup Matt Centrowitz. He is a 3-time Olympian, a 2016 Olympic gold medalist, 1-time World Indoor title, and 2 World Outdoor titles. And let me not forget, he is a new dad. Welcome to the show, Matt Centrowitz.
Thanks for having me. Great intro.
Thank you.
Happy to be here, guys.
So Matt, this has been in the works for quite some time, but I think we can finally share all the exciting details. Tell us all about your involvement with FloTrack going forward and, what it's going to look like for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's funny. Ryan and I have been kind of going back and forth, and I don't even know, before the birth of my kid, sometime last fall, and just kind of catching up with each other. We go way back. I also feel like Ryan was like the only person to like extract like my retirement news like so organically last year as well. I had no intentions on like even announcing it or mentioning it. I feel like until the season was over and him and I were doing a sound running interview, and I just feel like, you know, again, our relationship, our history, like he was able to kind of get that out of me, and I felt like you know, throughout the summer we just kind of stayed in touch, and through the fall, and he mentioned some exciting things down the pipeline that I was very anxious and excited to be a part of, and you know, fast forward X amount of months later, here I am. So
well, we're so thrilled to have you. This is just the beginning of a very exciting year for track and field. And can you tease a little bit more about maybe some of the places fans might be able to see you in the coming months?
Yes. So within FloTrack, most of the Diamond Leagues, I'm hoping for some other podcasts and other opportunities across all different meets, whether it be, like I said, the Diamond League, or maybe some college or other like professional meets that, you know, FloTrack will be also broadcasting. And then there's another one too that's pretty exciting, but unfortunately, I don't think there's been an announcement on that yet. So I'll keep these lips sealed until official notice. So.
Nice. Me and Ashley talked about this earlier, and you mentioned it too, that Ryan was kind of there when you made your announcement about retiring. Do you want to touch on a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny because I remember it was at the 10 last year, because I remember I was there, and Ryan came up to me. He's like, oh my gosh, like Matt Centrowitz just told me that 2025 will be his last competition year. That was almost a year ago. We're coming up on the 10 next week. So you're like a year removed from that announcement, and just curious for you, like reflecting on the past year for yourself and what it's been like for you.
Yeah, you know, again, going into that meet, like I feel like if you announce retire, like I'm going to retire this year, it's like almost like giving yourself an out, like I'm not taking this year seriously, or I'm like kind of like already throwing in the towel, and that was like far from it. I had all intentions and ambitions to make the Olympic team last year until the injury late in the summer, or I guess early summer, but late in the season. And yeah, like Ryan and I, again, like I said, like Ryan's just obviously great at what he does, and we just got on chatting, and I even surprised myself afterwards of being like, man, I kind of like wasn't expecting to say all of that or feeling that way, and it just kind of came out organically. And but nonetheless, like I mean, I knew, like, you know, being an Olympic year, being my age, some, you know, opportunities, and then obviously like goals as well off of the track. Just kind of felt like it was the right time to, you know, close out a career. Regardless if I had made the Olympic team or not last year, it was kind of what I felt was best for me in my life. But yeah, a lot of exciting things, new job. Obviously we mentioned earlier, a dad as well. And so all very much exciting things that just kind of feel like when you retire, or you put a end to something that I've been doing for over half my life, can be pretty sad and a bit depressing. But I felt like with all the other exciting things going on in my life, family wise, and then obviously opportunities like this, it almost like makes me feel like I didn't miss a step, or there was no lag in between of like this very empty, you know, feeling of like no more track and field. What do I do? Like, what's next? I felt like I did a pretty good job of transitioning to that next chapter in life.
I love that. As you transition, what was your mindset shift like to go from being a professional athlete and being an athlete for half your life into now this kind of like analyst role?
Yeah, I mean, I already made a joke about it, like within the first month of like the new role and the expectations and the lifestyle and like the hours. My old role, like it was a mandatory nap in the middle of the day, you know, and now it's like 12 hours straight, you know, barely a lunch break, could barely like find time to squeeze like a run in throughout the day. And so, yeah, it's completely different. Exactly what I wanted. I wanted a new challenge. I wanted something that was a pivot from track and field, but still able to like have my foot still in the door, and like, again, like opportunities like this, being able to like be a sports analyst, you know, with FloTrack, and then like some other opportunities again that hopefully I'll be able to mention in the coming days. But like, that's what I love to do. I love talking. and I love track and field. And so mixing the two, it just felt like a no-brainer to take advantage of having these opportunities and still be able to do my day-to-day job. So.
I love that. And I read your interview. You have a little quote in the article that I believe is coming out today. You said FloTrack's kind of been there through your entire journey, all the way from like 2006 and 2007. Talk to me about how that relationship has evolved.
So my understanding was FloTrack, like in my eyes, again, when you hear about a company, like whether they're a public company or not, more times than none, they've probably been around years before you've heard of them. But like 2006 was, I remember the first time like I've heard of FloTrack. My dad did like a handful of segments with them, whether it was about his own career, his coaching, and then there was a segment with my sister and I who ran track and field. And so that was like my introduction to FloTrack. And back in 2006, it was like FloTrack and like DieStat was like maybe the two like ways to get running content. And DieStat wasn't doing what FloTrack was doing. They were just like a forum of like people kind of like, let's run, like gossip and posting results and stuff. But, 2006 was my introduction. My dad was, my recollection, like one of the first guys on there, which is pretty fitting given the fact like 20 years later, I'm part of FloTrack in some capacity. And just kind of my dad being the, the leadoff leg and I'm anchoring the Centrowitz team with FloTrack. So, pretty exciting stuff. And it's great to also see that, where FloTrack has come over that time, right? 20 years is no joke. That's a long time to be very successful and have scaled and grown to what they've become now. And a lot of conversations that I've had with Ryan, since the last fall is kind of like, sort of speak of like almost getting back to like old FloTrack ways of like, how they put out content, their involvement in the sport, how they're connecting with fans and so forth. And so I was, again, it was a no-brainer, and I was super excited to be able to continue that with you guys and put out some really cool content this year and do some fun things with Diamond League and other things that we're obviously excited to share with you guys in the coming weeks.
Matt, I'm curious, you're still pretty fresh out of the sport, in the last few months, but like the sport has changed so much in those 20 years and even in the last 5. Like, where do you see track and field today, and where do you see it kind of going as far as how much it's been evolving?
It's wild. It's so hard to keep up if you're not constantly on like message boards or like on World Athletics or Twitter or whatever. Between high school kids just ripping times, between college guys with NIL deals, between the pros running world records every single week. And it makes for very entertaining track and field. And it's a great time to be a fan. It's a great time to be, I'm going to be biased and be an American track and field athlete across the board, whether you're in the sprints, field, or distance. So yeah, it's changed a lot, but I'll speak to like maybe more of like my area. So like middle distance and distance, I think it's cyclical. Like I think track and field is cyclical. I think, we're in an era right now, clearly that, there's a lot of fast times, no one's waiting around and making races tactical. But I think that there's going to be a time, whether it's in, post LA, maybe sooner, probably not, but there'll be a time where we go back to having some more tactical, like slower races, just because that's just the nature of the sport. But yeah, we're living in a time right now where that's not the case. And if you're not like super strong and ready to run a championship record, you're probably not going to win a medal. So again, I'm just happy that with these fast times, there are like a handful of other athletes that are capable of running it, because I used to like the tactical races because it left a lot of people in the field like late in the race. And again, like I'm biased, but I like the fact that you don't know who's going to win until like 100 or 50 meters to go. Like watching like someone run away from the field is like, I don't know, like a little bit of a yawn fest. It's just like, all right, like I want to see the best, like, competing over the last like, stages of the race. But if you get that in these fast races, like what you are, like look at the Olympics in the 1500, like you have 4 guys all within the last 50 meters of each other running championship records, being a second half off the world record, then that's great. Like I don't care if it's fast, I don't care if it's slow. I just like to see like the best of the best competing over the last 100 meters, last 200 meters with each other. And that's what you're getting like almost across the board. So it's a great time right now to be a fan. I'm excited to have some type of involvement in all this and being able to track and follow and commentate on it. And so looking forward to a lot of more exciting matchups this year. I'm hoping the trash talking is at all-time highs. I want to see the beef. I want to see all the smoke. And looking forward to it.
I love that. I do want to touch on something you said a little bit earlier, that you and your dad were with Flo way back in the day. Thanks to Ryan, I went through the archives and we have an interview from 2007 Nike. Can we go ahead and play that video?
I just knocked my computer down. I knocked it down because I went to go put my hand over my face because I know what it is. Oh man, yeah, it's so cringe. But go ahead, run it if you want it.
I already know. Around 200 mark, kind of saying something. What were you saying along there?
He couldn't hear me, but
I did.
You better cut out before the very last.
Be patient, probably be patient.
Be patient.
Yeah, because I know he wanted to go and. This is his first 2 miles, so it was unfair to put that in that position.
Right. So, how much confidence do you have knowing that you have this guy helping you? I mean, what does that do for you?
It's real nice to have a father that's been through it all. So his words would probably mean a little more than an average parent that probably wouldn't know what they're talking about. So I just try taking what he says and put it to use. And
boys, 4x200 meter relay.
Does he make you keep your room clean?
No, my mom.
Lanes all the way around.
Mom runs the roost.
Clear picture.
I get to go to the girl's house.
Head into that final handoff.
There it is. Oh.
I intentionally left that in for you.
Let me start by saying back in 2007, bangs were in. Okay, let me just start with that.
You should bring it back. I heard trans recycle.
That's right.
Yeah, we should. But I won't be the one. But maybe we can get Ryan. I don't know. Someone else can start that trend, and I'll follow after.
Yeah, I support. After seeing that, like, what kind of feelings does that bring back? You were so young, and to see what you've done from then, your entire career, and then now you're still kind of in the sport and changing the sport and making it better for the people behind you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a testament to longevity, like my relationship with my family and running and what it's done for us. Also, just the history with me and FloTrack as well, like I said earlier. So yeah, it's a lot of things. I wish I could say I haven't seen that interview in many, many years, but for whatever reason, like that interview along with the Nike Outdoor 2 mile, like somehow just pops up in my life every few years. And I go down memory lane and I cringe at that interview, but I enjoy watching the race. But it's just crazy to think like how time goes. That's approaching 20 years ago, which is like wild to me. It's like, where has the time gone? And I hate that as you get older, time goes quicker. And so trying to savor all the moments and take advantage of, all the opportunities I still have within the sport. And again, it's given me so much, given my family so much, that I love the fact that I'm still able to be involved and in some way, somehow also give back to the sport and maybe some other athletes in some capacity. So that's my aim. That's my goal. I hope I keep having a footprint in the sport for as long as possible. So.
And then lastly, how are you managing I know we already talked about you're a new dad, 4-month-old at home. Like, goodness, I'm sure you're not getting much sleep or anything like that. What's that been like?
Guys. It's been awesome. I mean, I am lucky because like my wife is just, a superhero and clutches up and does 95% of the things. Like I will give when he takes a bottle, I'll help with that feeding. And I'm just there for moral support. If she needs a burp cloth, if she needs something, I'm running it over to her. But it's been great. There's obviously times like where they're going to be difficult, where they're going to be hard. You're going to be sleep deprived. Like that's just, I think, having a newborn and infant 101. So, once you get past that and you understand like that's just part of the process and everyone goes through it, you can just kind of extract all the positive and rewarding things about being a parent. And so I'm loving parenthood. It's been more than I could have imagined. Maybe like 5 years ago, I didn't even know if I wanted kids. And a couple of years ago, I wanted them like ASAP. So it's been a blessing, and just enjoying like every single day with the little guy, because one thing that I heard from one person, and it like rings true, and I think about it almost every day, is that the years are long, but the days are short, and it feels like that. Sorry, I totally butchered it. It's the days are long and the years are short, and so I feel like I look back and he's already 4 months, and I'm like, I don't know where the time went, but again, you're up with him at 4 in the morning, and doing the feeding and the burping, and then it's like this crazy like 3-hour cycle that you do every 3 hours for throughout the 24 hours for the first few months. And it's like, unless you have any background on like how newborns are and like what the parent life is, and I feel like most men don't, you're kind of like in for a rude awakening. And so once you get callous to that after the first like few weeks, and you're like, all right, this is my life now for, I don't know, the foreseeable future, then you just kind of lock in. So
I know it might be a bit early, but how is his closing speed?
It's coming along. I think his strength is a little better than his speed right now, which is good. Being in altitude right now, Park City, 7,000. That was all part of our plan. I'm probably going to drop him off to Kenya or Ethiopia at the age of 2, and then I'll wait for him to come back at 18. And he has an NIL deal with NAU.
Of course.
Shout out Jared. Yeah, Jared Coulfield already locked that one in. So, we're entertaining other NIL deals. We haven't really accepted that one yet, but it's great to get the offers already. So,
absolutely. But we wish him the best in that.
Yeah. Same.
Matt, real quick, you spoke about legacy a little bit, and you obviously left your footprint on the track. I would love to know what you would love to do in this space that you're in now.
Yeah. So, like the thing is I'm at the point now, and I understand that, and I realize that, where a lot of, if not every single high school and maybe most college guys like don't even know who I am now. It's like they're looking up to the Cole Hawkers and the Naguses and Hob Kesslers, right? And Grant Fishers, of course. And like, I hopefully maybe left like somewhat of a footprint, or like, maybe inspired at least 1 or 2 guys to like, during the generation now that's like at the World Championships and competing there. And so moving forward, like, I'm not inspiring any of those young guys now. That's what the current crop of guys are doing. And so I'm hoping that what I can kind of like leave back and or at least provide in the next few years, at least leading up to LA, is just some excitement, some commentary around the sport, hopefully bridge the gap and connect the athletes with the fan base that we have, and bring in other fans that maybe haven't historically been track and field fans, and maybe are new and interested into the sport with all the new and exciting things that a lot of people are doing, right? There's a lot of money being pumped into the sport. There's a lot of exciting storylines. And so I think I would just like to kind of help maybe tell some of those stories. I think I'd like to generate a lot of interest and some buzz around track and field. And so that's kind of how I see like my involvement and what I can kind of do right now in the next X amount of years for track, versus walking to, going up to a high school meet and, walking around and having, high school kids be inspired and want my autograph like that. Those days are long gone. Like I can walk around a high school and a college meet and I'm just, a fan now, and just an everyday guy. And so I've embraced that, and now just looking forward to doing things now, in other areas in the sport.
No, for sure. We're happy to have you here.
I want to next dive into our deep dive. And Matt, I'm going to toss this one to you first, since you're, out of all of us, you have a world title. So I trust your expertise in this one. World Champs is coming up this weekend. What fields are you looking at, and races are you excited to watch?
I mean, again, I'll start with the events I know. On paper, on the women's side, on paper, and it never ends up on paper, but it looks like it'd be like an Ethiopian sweep from the 8 to the 3K. And as we all know, especially World Indoors, like World Indoors, I sometimes almost argue it's harder to win a world indoor title than a world outdoor title, because when you are thrown on a 200 bank, you have even less room of mistakes, and you probably only get one crack at, getting it right, whereas there's a lot more room for error on an outdoor track. So on paper, Ethiopians 8:15 3K, but I like Nia ran a PB at USA's. That bodes well for her. I could see her medaling. I could also see Georgia Bell in the 15. She looked phenomenal in Millrose, winning. She's a gamer. She showed it at the Olympics. And then I think in the women's 3, I'm living in Utah right now, so I got to shout out Whitney on getting a medal, or surprising a lot of people. She's been like on a tear since last year, and she's been keeping that rolling. So those are some like outside chances that I like, on top of like obviously the Ethiopians across the board who've run, I think they're the world leading times right now. And so the men's races, like, I hate to say this because I don't want to like jinx him or make it sound like it's not going to be exciting, but it's hard to see. It's hard to be in a world where Jakob doesn't win both and like runs away like convincingly. He looks unbelievable at Euros, and so I see him winning the double like quite like comfortably. And then I have Hoey in the men's 8. He's been again on a roll since last summer, kept it going since this indoor season. He's super sharp. He's super strong, winning the 15 against Grant. So he's shown that obviously he can run fast in the 8, number world time of all time. And then he's also, won a 15 against Grant Fisher, who is not easy to beat these days in 3:33. So those are my picks across the board in the 8, 15, 3K. And in the other events, it seems, especially like with Grand Slam track, that a lot of athletes have kind of opted to do Grand Slam and kind of get ready for that instead of showing up at Worlds. So, I think you're going to see a little bit of a lag there with some fields and some athletes opting to those meets. But nonetheless, I think you're going to see it's a world title on the line, and there's still good money there. So you're going to see a lot of good races and people kind of, peaking for this and getting up for it.
My final question for you, we're doing a little bit of rapid fire, is what world record do you think will go down this weekend?
Oh, man.
It's loaded.
I think the easy one to say is Josh Hoey in the 8. I'll go with Josh Hoey in the 8. It's, Ingrid Britson's doing the double, so it'll be a little bit harder to break one of those. And but not, I mean, you can't dismiss him. But I'm gonna go with Josh Hoey in the 8. There you go.
That's a solid
There's my prediction.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today at the meetup. I'm so happy to have you, and I can't wait to see your face all over FloTrack's feed and reoccurring on the meetup.
Get used to it.
Get used to it.
Thanks guys for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It was so great having Matt on the show. He had a lot of great takes. Johnny, talk to me. What is it like to have Matt a part of FloTrack now?
Hey, it's hard to believe. It sure is cool. Like he said, a lot of this generation of runners that are defining the sport were inspired by people like Matt. I certainly was. And it's just, he has so much experience and expertise that I think people are going to love to hear more about. He's been there. He's walked those shoes. He's achieved it at the highest level. And I really appreciate that he wants to give back and like share those amazing experiences that he's had. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I mean, hey, did you hear his preview on World Indoors? He is dialed in. I mean, he knows what he's talking about. And so, yeah, excited to have him here and, have him be a part of a lot what we're doing with Diamond League and such.
Yeah, Matt's always been a household name. I think for the longest, he's always been like synonymous with track and field. So now to have him on the other side in an expert analysis role in the second coming of the running boom, I think we are super fortunate.
I completely agree. The final list is finally out for all the athletes who will be competing. I'll start us off with a little bit. I'll start with the multis. I'm excited to see Talia Brooks compete in the multi. She wasn't at USA's, but I mean, she's a name that most people know. Her hair is what I love about her. But who are y'all looking forward to see?
Great question. I guess I'll go with first I know Matt was already talking a little bit about like the distance stuff. I'll stay there a little bit. I know he was talking about likely on the women's side, we could see the Ethiopian sweep of the 8, the 15, and the 3K. But particularly for me, I'm excited for the 1500 because I do think we have a strong American field. You have Sinclair Johnson, Heather McLean. Heather McLean just ran a very fast mile at BU not too long ago, so she's in shape. And I think Sinclair Johnson showed at USATF Indoors that she is one that's going to tactically know what it takes to race at the championship level. So I'm curious to see how they're going to match up against, the rest of the world. And then I also think, too, to go down to the 400 on the men's side, Chris Bailey, I mean, what a season he's been having. He's the world leader currently in the 400. And, I mean, obviously championships, anything can happen. But I think Bailey has already shown this season that he's locked in and he's running, as fast as he ever has. And I think that could bode well for him going forward to Nanjing to win a world title.
I love that you brought up Chris. This is my tiny bit of a hot take. I think since Nathaniel Ezekiel didn't come up with that title, he can run 44. He's done it multiple times, but didn't do it at NCAA's this past weekend. I'm curious to see, will he step up at Worlds for his country against Chris Bailey?
That's so tough. 'Cause I was thinking about that, and I will say I was a little bit surprised to see Nathaniel lose that 400 meter final to Will Floyd, only by 100th of a second at the line at NCAA's. And it's tough, too, because you think, man, he's already been through such a long NCAA season. Now you got to go take a plane from Virginia Beach to China and then compete all over again through the rounds. Crazy to think about, the stress and some of the, you're trying to stay rested going into those championships. I mean, I will say, if you look at him, and I know we did a workout with him and saw his training, he is a very strong athlete. They're working on a lot of that strength. They're doing sled pulls. They're doing all that. And so, knowing some of the background he's come from with his training, potentially he can rebound. And maybe also, too, there will be a little bit of, redemption in a way,
Like a little chip on your shoulder, because I think everybody expected him to win. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we didn't have this on camera, but Matt was mentioning that, the adjustment to traveling somewhere like China is an important factor to keep into account. Who's going to take that the best? And, with this time, I think it's 12-hour difference from here at least. That's going to be a big important factor for athletes coming in from Europe and from the Americas. How do you adjust to that? But I think for me, as a distance guy, I'm looking forward to seeing Jakob on that world stage. He was injured last year, so we didn't get to see him. And, he's looking pretty good. And I think between the 15 and 3, I think like Matt said, he's going to be hard to beat for sure. So I think those are going to be fun, especially after Euros, just how dominating he was. And it didn't seem like he was even giving it 100%. So that should be really cool to see.
I'm looking forward to the 400s, but the women's 400 per se. I really am looking forward to seeing how Alexis Holmes does coming into Nanjing. She's been dominant all season, and I have yet to see her really get challenged. And my hot take is that she can potentially break the indoor American record.
I don't know.
I know. But I think she can do it.
Ooh, man.
Not by much, but she can do it.
Well, if you think about it then, so if you think she's going to break the American record, do you think she has a chance of the world record? There's only 7/100ths of a second between the 49.24 that we saw from Isabel Whitaker this past weekend at NCAA's and Femke Bowles' 49.17.
I actually felt so my hot take for her was 49.20.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the world record is well within reach, but I just have her the American record.
And she wants that American record, but don't Isabel and Alexis train at the same place? No, aren't they both? They're both up in Arkansas.
I believe so.
They're both in Fayetteville. Actually, I know the answer. They're both in Fayetteville. So I think even knowing that they, not necessarily training partners, but they come from the same training environment, is going to be exciting to see nonetheless. I think I can see it being broken again. And
she's gunning for the outdoor American record as well. So she has her eye on the prize. She went on the record to say, I'm going for Sonia Richards-Ross American record outdoor. So I don't think it's far-fetched that she gets it indoor first.
Yeah, 100%. I also, this one's crazy too. I think there could be a women's 60 world record. That's a wild one, I know.
Do you explain?
Yes. Okay. So I feel like the 60 is very different from the 100. I know we don't have our Julian Alfreds or Sha'Carri Richardsons there, but I don't think you need that for a 60. I think their strong suit is still the 100. But I think you have Celera Barnes really popped off at USA's, and then we have Jacia Sears, and then we have, I believe, what was it, the European 60 record that went down? I think you're seeing these girls get faster, and I think if you put them all in the same heat, I think you can see the competition. You have multiple rounds to get that record. It can happen in semis for all I care, but I think we might get a little close. That's my.
I have a question for you for that. If Jason were to break the world record, what would that say about these athletes coming in? Because it's her rookie year. So for her to have that type of success plus an indoor world record, what would that say about the sport?
Yeah, I think the sport is growing, and I think a lot of eyes are on sprints. I have love for all the events, but I think for some reason that 160 is you become the fastest person in the world. And Jasis was injured NCAA, so I think to see her come out with essentially an undefeated season until USA's, like that's exciting for me to watch. But she's really like that. That's the short answer. I think she's like that. I think she's more than capable, if not this year, next year.
See, I'm going to put like an X on any like 60-meter world records going down because let's be real. A lot of these short distance sprints, like indoor times, like world records are being set at altitude. Nanjing is like 30 feet above sea level. I just Googled it here. So I'm like, they're not going to get that extra boost of altitude. So I'm going to say no. I think we can see some fast times, but I don't think we'll see any world records in those events.
You know what? I take it slightly back. There is a time zone change. That's major.
Yes.
But they're professionals. Nothing new.
I don't know. I think all this factors in, and I think we'll see some exciting races, but I don't think we'll see quite fast.
I forgot it's in China. That slip. If it was like in America, I'm like, yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
It's a big part.
All right. Any other athletes we're looking forward to preview?
Yeah, I mean, actually, we were talking a little bit about the 8, and on the men's side, we have Hoey, I think, seed 1. But I just looked, Brandon Miller right behind him in second position on that ranking. So, like, what do you think? Do you think that could be a fast one?
I mean, I'll say I think the men's 800 going to be very exciting. Josh Hoey, I think I've said this previously before, but like if you had told me earlier, like going into 2025, that Josh Hoey was going to have the season that he's had this indoor season, I would have been like, no way. Like there's no shot. But I mean, man, he set the American record. He is number 2 all time at 143.24. I mean, gosh, I know we're not at like our rapid fire stuff, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but like world record watch, maybe? I don't know. I mean, I think if anyone can do it, Hoey has proven that like he not only has the tactics, but the speed to do it. I mean, he, like Matt was saying earlier, he even beat Grant Fisher at a 1500, and we all know how hard it is to beat Grant Fisher right now. He's one of the best distance athletes in the world, not even just in America. So I don't know, man. Yeah, that men's 800 could be entertaining.
Definitely. What were you going to say, Demitra?
This is the most biased opinion I could ever give on this show. But men's shot put. I am so excited for men's shot put.
Why would that be?
I have no idea. But on a serious note, I am excited for men's shot put. You aren't seeing your Ryan Krauser show up because he already got his world indoor title. I don't think he's looking for another one. But for the American side, we have Tripp Pippery and Roger Steen, who are both tremendous throwers, who are well within that ballpark to kind of get that title. I don't think they'll break any records necessarily at this meet because it is China, but I think there is that opportunity for a USA shot putter to still dominate and come away with the title that I think us Americans are so used to us always having that shot put title.
I'm excited for Tripp.
Yeah.
You know, honestly speaking, because that was his first national title and when he won indoors, right? So I think when it comes to, obviously we know this sport is 90% mental.
Yeah.
You can know that you have the capabilities to do something and you have the potential to do something, but when you actually do it, I really think it really flips a different switch in you. You're probably now doing things physically that you probably never thought you could do because now look at you. So I'm excited for him. I think we have PRs loading.
We have some PRs loading. 22 Club, I hope so.
You were seemingly the good luck charm that led to his American title at USATF. So does this mean you're going to hop on the 24-hour flight to Nanking?
I have no desire to go. Tokyo, you'll see me there, but I have no desire to go to China. I'll be watching from right here in Texas, but I think it'll be really cool to see.
And then I think before we even move on, I think one athlete, we can't talk about a World Indoor Championship meet without talking about our guy, Grant Holloway. See, you knew me. You knew exactly what I was going to say. I mean, again, undefeated at the 60-meter hurdles. I don't think we've really seen an athlete dominate an event like that, like we have seen with Grant Holloway in that 60-meter hurdles indoors. He's going to be looking for another world title. He already has the world record. Not sure if we'll see one. Maybe not. But yeah, excited to see what he's going to do out in China this weekend. Yeah,
I think he's an amazing athlete to watch compete. I mean, to win and kind of have that legacy behind you, but also transcend the sport. It's fun to watch. And like the way y'all know the man, he's tall, like his stride, the way he gets to the hurdles. it's impressive. And I think in a press conference at USA's, he was like, don't jinx me. Like, I know I win all the time, but like, don't say it too much. But I think it's going to be really cool to see. I, once again, hope he shaves his head again. I feel like that's the world record haircut, bald Grant. So, yeah. Any other field events?
Monet.
There we go. I knew it. For the jumpers.
Monet.
For the jumpers.
My favorite drama queen. Well, I just want to like recap real quick indoor nationals. The fact that it was her last jump.
Her sixth jump.
Jump, she won the title. I thought she was out of it. We all thought she was out of it.
I was stressed for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was like, I'm going to put on a show and keep everyone on their heels. She's like a thriller movie. So I'm excited for her. She has such a good head on her shoulders, like all jokes aside. She says when she gets into her mode, what was her alter ego, Aaliyah?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think.
What is this? She's got a different identity when she's competing?
She does.
Yeah. Like, how Beyonce becomes Sasha Fierce?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Same vibes.
A long jump.
Yeah, she has a playlist. She had a playlist ready before she even like qualified. She had a playlist ready to go for this trip. And then I think to see her come off of the Paris Olympics and then make this world team, like she's proving time and time again that she is an elite jumper and she's really like that. Yeah, I'm excited. And her hair, I can't wait to see what hairstyle she chooses. She always does a little poll or a little vote on her stories. So I'll be voting, girl.
Ooh, same.
Yeah. Awesome. That is a wrap for our show. I'm so excited that we were all able to be here today. And of course, Matt Centrowitz was able to join us. We have a lot of cool things coming up. TBD on if you'll be at China. Fingers crossed to the visa gods.
Yeah, right. We keep our fingers crossed. We got till today to get that visa cleared.
All right.
But if not, I'll be watching it here with you guys.
Awesome. I cannot wait. Thank y'all for tuning in. We will be here every single Tuesday. Thank y'all.